What do you make of the comments then by a U.S. official again to Axios saying that Netanyahu needs the war to continue for his political future, while Trump needs the war to end for their political future, and that's where for his political future and his party's political future, and that's where the divide is actually occurring. It's not a divide over whether they agree or not that Iran should be a target of war, or Lebanon, or anything like that, that it's simply about their political futures that is causing a rift about how long this has been going on. And of course, the consequences, especially on the Trump side, of for the United States and the political viability of his regime and the particular kind of regime that he wants to be the face of. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you find this to be plausible, or is this another like plausible deniability report where we are just getting more, well, good cop, bad cop? Trump is trying to restrain Israel, but Israel just does it anyway. There have been a BBC, I put this up yesterday, a BBC State Department correspondent said, well, actually, it's highly unlikely that the Trump administration was not involved at all in these strikes on Lebanon that caused Iran's retaliation. But your thoughts?
Well, this is true. I mean, we've been saying this for a very long time, and so have many other people, that Trump's political fortunes are linked to the Strait of Hormuz. And the worse the situation gets, the longer this lasts, the less capable he will be of manipulating the markets. And, ultimately, gravity works. And the shortages will show. And the reserves will finish. So that, I think, if this continues for long, I think the midterm elections will be a rout, and he will face impeachment and all sorts of other problems. I think that's the end of his presidency, and it could lead to many, many bad things for him. But and the same is true with Netanyahu. We know we've been discussing this all along. When before the attack on Lebanon, I was telling people that he's going to attack Lebanon, not this time, the other time, when Seyed Hassan Nasrallah was martyred. I actually went to Lebanon the day before on my own because I knew there would be war. And a lot of people were saying, no, he won't do this. And I said, no, he has to do this because he's fighting for his own political survival. So he has to go from Gaza to Lebanon so he has to have perpetual warfare. And the Greater Israel Project, therefore, now makes more sense because it justifies his, constant strikes against Lebanon, against Gaza, against West Bank, and murdering people in the West Bank, killing that 7-month-old baby, and every day killing people there, and bombing Yemen, and bombing Iraq, and bombing Syria, and bombing Iran. All that is justified because he wants to stay in power. He doesn't want to go to jail. And so I think that he will continue for as long as he can. The wars will never end as long as he's in power. It doesn't mean that the opposition is any more humane, but Netanyahu is destroying Israel. That's my opinion. I've been saying it all along, that the fact that the fact that you have this quote from Axios by Trump saying everyone hates Israel, and everyone hates Netanyahu, that, I think, is very revealing. That's another reason why I don't think this particular report, even though Axios has no credibility at all, is corrupt, immensely corrupt, and a tool of Zionism and the administration. But I think in this particular case, this was very damaging for Israel. But I think if they did it because they needed to I think they are doing this, some people, because they want to get rid of Netanyahu. Again, I may be wrong. I don't make any claims that this is necessarily, it's pure speculation. I just can't think of a better reason why this would happen. So I think that Trump definitely needs peace. Netanyahu definitely needs war. But we have to always go back to Joe Kent. Not that Joe Kent said anything that we didn't know.
Right.
But Joe Kent's resignation letter confirms from someone who was high up in the intelligence field in the United States, a Trump appointee, said that this is not about nuclear weapons. Iran is not making a nuclear weapon. This is not about Iran being a threat. Iran's not a threat to the United States. This is about the Zionist lobby and the Israeli regime. And that's why when you look at Trump and you look at Netanyahu, the guy who's more important is Netanyahu. And so Trump is the one who is going to lose the election, and perhaps a lot more than that. And Netanyahu, I think he's going to fail too, because I think that ultimately he is destroying Israel, and at some point the Zionists are going to say, we have to remove this guy. He's destroying us. And he's already destroyed them. I mean, people across the world are Iran, Danny, Iran has no soft power capabilities. It has been sanctioned for decades. All it has is these young kids who do the Legos, right. Which incredible. Wonderful job, right. Incredible young kids, fantastic job. But Iran doesn't have the ability to counter Western narratives. But the world has woken up to all the lies about Iran for the last 47 years. Why? Because the Americans and the Israelis are so disgusting. The West is so disgusting and shameless that people are saying, look, this can't be right. I mean, what they're saying about Iran must be wrong because they're supporting genocide. The Guardian, Fox News, there's no difference. One may be critical, in this sort of mild-mannered way, but they're the same. One, Fox News may be a bit different from MSNBC, but they're still fundamentally the same. Right. People are seeing through that. So across the world, people are supporting Iran because now they see in Sunni countries all the propaganda against Iran all these decades by, Erdogan, by the despot in Doha, the Saudis, the Emiratis, sectarianism, racism, feeding their people with hatred towards Iran and the Shia and the resistance. Why? Because they're complicit. They're with the Americans, and they need to discredit whoever's standing up for the Palestinians. Even many Palestinians believe their nonsense and their lies about the Shia, their lies about Iran, their lies about what goes on inside Iran. That is falling apart. During the war, people across the Arab world were cheering Iran, even as Iran was striking these regimes in retaliation. Why? Because people see the propaganda. Why? Because it's become so ugly and so clear for everyone what the United States and the Israeli regime are doing and their proxies and the access of assistance, how they've been facilitating all this, that people don't trust them anymore. So Iran, despite the fact that we only have some kids doing Lego videos and the state has no ability to project, and we don't even have a good book on Iran. I keep saying here and there, go read Going to Tehran by the Leverett or Alistair Crook's book, Resistance, or Peter Oborn's book, Dangerous Delusion, I think. But that's all there is out there. The Iranians haven't even written books that are in English. That's all I've ever read that's any good. There may be a few other good books I haven't seen. I can't say there aren't any, but I haven't seen. But the point is that Iran doesn't have. They're so sinister. They're so disgusting that people don't even need to see the Iranian point of view. They're saying, look, these guys are really bad. So obviously what they see about Iran can't be trusted. That's where we are now.
Yeah. And maybe we can pull up Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, has published his response to the Apache helicopter incident, just to tie the knot here, tie the loop.
No, I haven't seen this.
Yeah, it just came out, actually.
I can't, because I'm using my cell phone, so I can't read this.
You can't read. I will read it then. So Seyed Abbas Araghchi, foreign minister of Iran, wrote this: foreign forces in proximity to our territory are at constant risk on account of their own human errors, plane accidents, or potentially being caught in crossfire. To reduce risk, the best solution for them is to leave. We prefer language of diplomacy, but we speak other languages too. And he published two reports where he, two images. One of them is a report that says the Strait of Hormuz is not, this is his literal statement, not international waters, but shared between Oman and Iran, located thousands of miles away from U.S. shores. Maritime borders are crystal clear, and our powerful armed forces are in constant alert for any violation of Iran's airspace, land, or waters. And then it continues, but I don't have to read the whole thing. And then a picture of the Strait of Hormuz for a reminder of exactly what it looks like and exactly where Iran and Oman sit in relation to it. So that was the statement, First Marandi. Your reaction to this? It's quite clear.
Yeah, I think that the Iranians obviously haven't taken responsibility, not now, but even yesterday before Trump said this. I would imagine that the Iranians don't know what happened. Otherwise, the Iranians would have they would have said yesterday that a helicopter entered the Iranian territory and it was down. They've done that before, and they've said it before, and we've seen how the Iranians have hit the Israeli regime very hard. So the Iranians are not going to shy away from taking responsibility. But in any case, I think Trump is being pushed towards some sort of confrontation. Again, this is speculation. Maybe because of the position he took on towards Beirut and towards the Israelis not responding to Iran, and maybe there are Zionists in the United States who are saying you've gone too far, and so he now wants to kill a few people and bomb a few people and murder a few people so that the Zionists and the United States and Israel would be appeased. I'm guessing, but that's the only thing I can think of right now as to why he would push this narrative. But, I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, the Iranians are prepared for war, Danny. The Iranians are prepared. It's not as if anyone here is afraid. Right. Gone are those days where we don't want war, but we know they're not going to defeat us. They're going to be defeated. Right. It will create hardship for us. It will create hardship for the world. But if we have more war, then no one should imagine that the critical infrastructure of the region will remain intact. And any talk of some sort of agreement, that's gone. That'll be gone. So the oil markets, they should expect nothing from the Persian Gulf anytime soon at all. But if there's destruction in our region, that means that the permanency of this lack of energy is what we'll have to be dealing with at a time when the reserves are already finished. So manipulation can work a bit longer, but not much longer.
Yeah, and Iranians, President Marandi, have been in the street every single day. Now we are in day 101, 102 of this war since February 28th, and Iranians have been in the streets, not afraid of war, but supporting their government in taking up the mantle of self-defense against the aggression.
I was on Channel 4 News last night, Danny. It's a British media outlet, and the presenter, I don't want to name him, I know him, but I saw a clip of him saying a few days ago, well, he was on the second night when he was here, he invited me to be on his show. Just 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. Right. And so I went anyway. And he said, Iranians won't approach me. They are afraid of the guards. There are guards everywhere. I'm like, where are guards? But anyway, I don't see any guards on the streets. But anyway, and I said, and I was saying that, come on, if the Iranians don't approach you, it may be because they don't trust you. And he said, okay, I grant you that. And then last night he invited me again because they were leaving today. He said to me, Iranians on the streets told me they're tired of war and they want peace. And I said, really? They told you that? He said, yeah. And I said, well, I thought that the Iranians weren't allowed to express their opinion. I thought we gunned them down here in Iran. Right. Isn't that like what you guys, I didn't say, what the Western media always says? Right. And so, and Channel 4 News is, someone like this particular host is better than other Western media journalists that I know. At least those that I can think of right now. But the point is that I don't know what Iranians he met, and obviously the Iranians don't want war. Obviously the Iranians feel the economic pressure. doubt about that. There's high inflation. But for us, this is a war for our survival. We know that the Greater Israel Project is on, and that these people are ruthless. They will exterminate the Lebanese. They will exterminate the Palestinians to get what they want. And the West supports them. No country in the West will do anything but assist them. There are no sanctions against the Israeli regime after 3 years of genocide. A few token sanctions on some people in the West Bank. So a joke by some of these regimes, basically to say that we're doing something. The Iranians know that, first of all, they cannot forsake the Palestinians or the Lebanese. It's not in our religious culture, especially as Shia Muslims. Just can't. We can't let them just disappear. It's not doable for us. They'll have to kill us. But also, as I said, if we appease them, they're not going to go and say, okay, well, the Iranians, what was it that Trump said? Say uncle. If they said uncle, so let's go home. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. They will go 10 steps forward. They'll move 10 steps forward. They'll be more aggressive. They'll be more brutal.
Yeah.
So we have no option but to resist, both for the sake of the Palestinians, the Lebanese, but also for our own sake. And the countries in the region, they are indifferent, as they always say.
Yeah, U.S. empire is literally the most maybe grotesque definition of give an inch, take a mile. Professor Marandi, okay, so last two questions then. Well, not questions. The first, I had a comment about the Netanyahu-Trump rift story. We've seen it before. We've seen reports about Trump and Netanyahu, Trump nasty call with Netanyahu. We even seen it during Biden toward the tail end of Biden's regime, nasty call with Netanyahu. But this is the first time that there was a literal quote, a particular quote, indicating that there is a confirmation that the ruling circles, they know Israel's reputation is in the absolute toilet, and to articulate it in an Axios piece that's supposed to pose as legitimate reporting. I think I agree with you. I think that's a big deal. It doesn't even really matter what the details of what actually happened are, because people digest it as this is what we're being presented. And if what we're being presented fits, if the shoe fits, then we ultimately it gets worn. So that seems to me the situation with that. But I think it is significant in the sense that we are seeing. I think a panic erupt that is based on a dead end that the U.S. and Israel too finds itself in, because Israel could go on as long as it wants, doing all of what it's doing, but it is a dead end in the sense that the results are not going to change. The results are going to be, yes, they continue to slaughter people, but does it meet any kind of objective? Not really. And does it worsen Israel's overall status in the world as a literal colony? That tends to not bode well in the future, especially as the resistance strengthens. And I think we can say that the resistance has strengthened over the course of this period, from October 7th onward, February 28th onward. I don't know how anyone could make a case otherwise, because we've seen things that we've never seen before. So your thoughts on this, and then I have an audience question for you.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm not implying that there's a rift between the United States and Israel. That's a different thing altogether. I'm basically saying this is Netanyahu, not even just Trump. Trump really isn't that important in many ways. Whoever put this in Axios, which is just a tool for the people around Trump, the Zionists around Trump, whoever put it there, I think, was attacking Netanyahu. And obviously within the Zionist ruling class in the United States, there are different factions. But God forbid, if I was a Zionist, God forbid, may he kill me before I have the opportunity to be anything like that.
Don't want to put that into existence. Yeah, I don't want to put that in.
It's just take me, just throw me under a bus or something before that happens. But if I was a Zionist, I would do the same thing. I would discredit Netanyahu, bring in one of those other genocidal monsters, help them win the election in this apartheid regime where the majority Palestinians don't have a vote. It's no democracy. But anyway, like South Africa, where the white people get back then got. So that sort of democracy. So I would try to help his opponent, one of his opponents, to get in, and then give the regime a facelift, give that genocidal opponent of his a facelift, make some smart marginal concessions, withdraw here and there, but not everywhere, and then move on. If I was a Zionist, that's what I would do. So but I think this rift is real. I think the rift between not Trump, but more than Trump, and Netanyahu is real. And because this quote, as you said, this is a literal quote, and this hurt Netanyahu badly. And even Fox News put this on. I saw it on their Twitter account. I don't follow Fox News. I don't know how it got onto my Twitter feed, but that's where I saw it.
Well, the audience question is a good one. They are asking about a comment made by Paul Craig Roberts, who I believe served in the Reagan administration. I don't know if he was in the Department of Treasury. He said that his concern is that Iran is playing a dangerous game and is not acting decisively against Israel, instead engaging in a tit for tat in which Israel continues to advance incrementally. His opinion is that Iran can overcome this existential crisis only when it makes a much bolder move than it has so far. First of all, what do you make of this kind of critique, especially in light of what we saw just a couple of days ago, and of course, in the whole picture, big picture of what's been happening?
Well, I hear this a lot, and we've discussed this, you and I, on other issues. And I'm of the belief that in order for Iran to do things, it has to have part of it. Iran's power is to gather support, both at home and abroad. So, for example, if Iran began firing missiles at the Israeli regime earlier on, maybe some of the countries that support Iran right now would take a stance against Iran and condemn Iran's attack. But when the Israeli regime, in Lebanon, continued to carry out these genocidal strikes and to flatten them with Western support and Western silence, but people across the world are watching. You see through the Western media. And then when the regime said they're going to flatten Beirut, and then the Iranians threatened them, and then they actually did begin a strike, and Iran struck across the world. No one took a stance in favor of this regime. That's important for Iran. Not that, like, Iran expects Russia to be a part of the axis of resistance, or China to be part of the axis of resistance, or any of the countries in the region that are friendly to Iran to become a part of the axis of resistance. But Iran wants to make sure that the other side, it does not benefit from, as far as possible, from any violent exchange. And so, again, like, Iran threatened the Israelis for southern Lebanon. Now, some people are saying, well, you should continue until, well, maybe they will. Maybe they're waiting to make sure that the Israeli regime is seen by everyone as provocative, as murderous, as genocidal. And then when Iran punishes them, it doesn't hurt Iran. Iran needs support at home and abroad. People across the world need to. Iran is. And, I'm not speaking of him. A lot of people, sit on the sidelines and they're saying, do this or do that. Iran is on its own. The axis of resistance has no help. The countries in this region are in the American camp. AWACS jets fly over Turkey. American bases in Turkey are used against us. In the Persian Gulf, their bases are used against us. In Jordan, they're trying to down Iranian drones and missiles. This is what we're up against. So Iran wants public opinion to be on its side. just like as I said, right before the 12-day war, Iran was negotiating. A lot of people said Iran was fooled. That's not true. We knew there would be war. The Iranians miscalculated by thinking that the Israelis would not strike the leadership, like the commanders that were martyred on day one. That was a miscalculation, but they knew a war was coming. I knew a war was coming. They wouldn't, of course they knew. But Iran negotiated to show the world and the Iranian people that, look, we tried. If we had not negotiated indirectly and with a mediator, and in Oman, where the Americans didn't want it to happen, in other words, from a position of strength, if we had not negotiated, then the Americans many could have said, well, if you just negotiated, we wouldn't have had this. Right. But Iran did, and the Americans thus were blamed. In this war, we saw that the same thing. Iran knew the Americans were going to attack. And so in the negotiations, the Iranians were even a bit extra flexible. Not that because they wanted to give up anything, because they knew the Americans were going to attack. And the Omani foreign minister went to Washington and said, we made progress, and they attacked. Iran was ready for it. They didn't know what hour, and also they couldn't block all their missiles. They attacked. But the point is that the world saw Iran as the victim, and ordinary Iranians, because a lot of Iranians are very supportive. When you look at the polls, there's strong support. But the Iranians want every extra bit of support at home and abroad that they can get. That strengthens the resistance.
Yeah.
Hezbollah wants to. I mean, the president of Lebanon, because he's an agent, he helped Hezbollah a lot during the last 2-3 weeks, through 2-3 days, unwittingly. Why? He attacked Hezbollah in Iran, and then what did the Israeli regime do? They bombed that convoy and murdered it. So basically, they foolishly strengthened Hezbollah, because Hezbollah was saying the more you concede, the more you're subservient, the more aggressive they are. Give an inch, take a mile, right?
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of this question, I want to thank the Patreon supporter who gave it.
Is it give an inch, take a mile? What was it that you said?
Yeah, you give an inch and they take a mile. So essentially,
they take a mile.
The U.S. empire. That's what it does. And if anyone tries to, cooperate,
yeah, you concede a point, and they want a 1,000 more points. That's just how it works.
Well, I mean, look what happened.
That's what happened with the nuclear deal.
Right.
We started giving concessions, and they began to demand more.
Yeah.
When the Iranian president Rouhani kept saying, we need to do a deal fast, that's my top priority, the Americans said, what? This is his top priority? So let's increase the pressure, because he'll concede more.
Yeah. I mean, if people don't know, Iranians are quite educated people, including in their leadership. I think they've studied what, let's say, happened to Muammar Gaddafi, what happened to what happened to Bashar al-Assad or the Assad, cooperation.
I mean, let's just look at the negotiating team. The head of the Iranian negotiating team, the Speaker of Parliament, is an associate professor at my university.
Right.
To one side was the deputy head of the Supreme National Security Council, Dr. Bagheri, who is also a professor at a university in Tehran. And then Dr. Araghchi, a PhD holder, foreign minister, who is on the other side. The vice president with whatever background he has, and then two Zionist firsters who are real estate
agents. Yeah, I was about to say real estate moguls, I guess. And yeah, and you have Donald Trump, who is literally just constantly contradicting.
Another genius.
Yeah, even anything they do or say, we saw it with Ukraine. Look at what happened with the Ukraine conflict. Spirit of anchorage, and then just tearing up even just a vibe. I mean, the United States can't even maintain any kind of even semblance of good faith negotiations, or good faith even just collaboration around issues of mutual interest. So it doesn't seem like Iran is budging on anything. And what's so and we even have reports, we can leave it on this, a 15-year freeze on Iran's uranium enrichment. This is New York Times just throws out this number as if that is anything that Iran would accept, given the fact.
Remember, when it comes to Iran, Trump's opponents are still on the Zionist side. So the New York Times, they'll carry out their psychological warfare. The Washington Post, they're all the same. They may be anti-Trump, but they're not anti-Zionist. There may be a rift between some people and Netanyahu, but there is no rift between the political regime in Washington and the regime in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, and I hope people understand that war is not, and to Paul Craig Roberts' comment, war is not, maybe to the U.S. mentality, U.S. exceptionalism, military superiority, just, crush everyone in your way that doesn't, kiss your feet. And even if they do kiss your feet, maybe you crush them anyway. It's not Hulk smash. That's not war. Iran is fighting a particular kind of war that is about, as you said, survival, and also, survival.
They've been exterminating kids for 3 years now.
Yeah.
These people are ruthless.